What's up, Guava Bees? Welcome to another episode of the Dear Guava Bean podcast. Today, I'm speaking with Celi, who is an entrepreneur and founder of Soul Trips. This is a company that hosts wellness events around the world, and they take people to countries like Mexico and Venezuela, and they do volunteer work, and they build a sense of community and gratitude and appreciation. This is one of the most interesting and exciting episodes that I've ever recorded, and I hope you love it too. Remember, you can check out the links and the things that we talk about in this episode in the show notes. Just go to guavabean.com, and you can also listen to the full episode inside the Guava Box. Hi, Celi. Welcome to the podcast. Thank you for being here.
Hi, how are you?
I'm so good. Thank you for joining. I can't wait to talk to you about your services. I don't think I've spoken to someone who does wellness retreats on this podcast before.
Well, I'm glad I'm the first one. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. So what do you do? Like, obviously I know what you do, but for the people listening, How would you describe what you do?
What I do is wellness retreats. I like to call them with purpose because it's not just yoga retreats, but we go to a place and the main pillar or the main component of our retreats is volunteer work. So we do some volunteer work and then we combine that with yoga and wellness workshops. So it is a wellness retreat, but the number one pillar is the volunteer work.
Interesting. So you do wellness retreats with a purpose.
Yep.
And where do you hold these retreats?
So far, we've been in Mexico and Costa Rica, and I am originally from Venezuela. So going to Latin countries has been easier for me just because of the language barrier. And, starting this project 3 years ago, we were really new. So we were like, okay, let's go to our comfort zone. But I think now we're ready to take off and go to other places. But so far, Mexico and Costa Rica only.
That's awesome. Yeah, I definitely understand starting where you're comfortable, you speak the language, you know the place. And that must be amazing for your guests. I mean, the nature, the food, the culture out there.
Yeah, and I think one thing that makes us a bit different is that, of course, I already told you that we do volunteer work, but we try to immerse people in the culture. Like, we go to places where maybe you don't get to go if you're just a normal tourist. We make local contacts so that you can maybe go to a small restaurant where they have, local food, or we go to places. Of course, we also visit those touristy places because, when you're on a trip, you want to go to those places and take pictures and just say, oh, I've been there. But we give people more like an overall experience and not just, oh, let's go to the pyramids because that's where everybody goes to. But, or maybe we find someone local that can explain, the behind the scenes story of the pyramids or of, call it whatever site. We're always hanging out with locals, which it makes it a very different experience. So.
Yes, I love that. It is so much more special when you have the locals show you their spaces and like their favorite places to eat, and they give you the history of the place just from a different angle. Whenever I travel, I feel like you get such a different experience when you know the locals, or just if you know someone who lives there, they can show you like a whole different side to a country or a city.
Yeah, like we were just in Costa Rica in October last year, and we met this guy who owns a local restaurant, and he's like, oh, you have to do this hike. And I'm like, I don't even know about this hike. And he's like, don't worry, we'll take you. So we changed our schedule just to adjust so we could put the hike in. And we went to this hike that it's not even online because it's random. in the middle of nowhere, and only locals know to go there. So we were lucky enough to meet this guy, and we went on a hike that we were not expecting. You could see the beach from the top of the mountain. It was beautiful. So those kind of experiences, unless you have a local contact or you meet someone, you really don't get if you're just a regular tourist. So we try to focus on those things, the cultural experience, the volunteer work, and of course, a little bit of yoga, a little bit of wellness workshops just to internalize what's happening. When you go to a place and you see poverty, maybe for the first time, or it's an experience that you've never had before, there's a lot going on in your mind. There's a lot that you need to process. So we'll help you with that process. We don't leave you alone. Yeah, because it could be pretty intimidating for some people. So we try to focus on helping people with that too. So.
That sounds amazing. That sounds like such a fun thing to
Yeah.
do also as a job. How
Yeah.
did you get started into this kind of work?
I'm from Venezuela, like I said, and I moved to Canada 7 years ago. But if you live in a country that's not your own, you will know that being an immigrant has a lot of I don't want to say issues, but it has a lot of barriers. Maybe I speak English, which is a good thing in Canada, but I didn't have any experience working here, so I had to figure out a way to do something on my own. I got married to a Canadian, so I was able to do all my immigration paperwork and stuff. But I didn't want to end up working just in like a McDonald's or, a fast food place. Because not that that's a bad thing. For people, if you need an income, you do it. But I wanted something more, and I wanted to be able to fulfill my passions and my dream of traveling and helping people. So I started 3 years ago with Soul Trips. And the reason why I started is because back in, I shouldn't say the year, but a few years ago, I traveled with a nonprofit, and at this nonprofit, we focused on traveling the world, doing community service. We stayed with host families, and I think that experience changed my life forever. I was able to go to places like, anywhere from the US, Europe, Thailand, Philippines, Japan. So I saw all different cultures and all different types of poverty and need. And I just thought I can never travel again and not do anything. Because I know, and not many people maybe are aware of it, but poverty and need is very close to all those big resorts. Like we go to Cancun, when we go to Mexico, we like that area of Cancun. And you know how many big resorts, 5-star, all-inclusive resorts are in Cancun. But 10 minutes away, there is villages, Mayan villages and little towns where people are really struggling for food, for, just basic needs. So it's closer than you think. And so I thought, yeah, I've been lucky enough to, go to those all-inclusives, and I can travel, and I live in Canada, which is a beautiful place, and I have everything I need. But why not start traveling to help other people? And I know I'm not going to change their world by going 1 day or 2 days, but I know that maybe I can show them a little bit of a different world that day, and that makes it all worth it. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
That is so beautiful. I know what you mean about going to other countries and seeing the poverty and just becoming aware of it. I think it's one of those things that you don't see or you don't really understand until you start to travel. And that's why traveling is so important. It like opens your mind and you see how other people live. Like until you travel, you know how you live and you might think your situation is terrible. But then you go to these other countries like the Philippines and Thailand and like what other places consider third world countries. And you see how much some people really struggle for basic things that you take for granted or that I take for granted. So I love that you combine travel with that kind of purpose. And it's not just traveling for fun and for photos and for seeing the local attractions, but traveling to help the people and to like broaden your mind and to understand like what's really going on. That is so powerful.
Yeah, and I think, and we've seen it in the retreats that we've done, that it increases your sense of gratitude, what you were just talking about. When you see someone that's struggling for things that you just take for granted at home, like opening, your sink and there's clean water that comes out, or hot water to shower, or, just simple things like that that we take for granted, it really makes us reflect on, why am I complaining so much?
Yes.
Or why am I, not being grateful for what I have? If those people have nothing and they're happy, or they show me, how they can be happy even when they have all those needs. So it's a trip where you can take your photos, you will have fun, and we'll do yoga and we'll do all that stuff, but there's a lot of reflection behind it too. And I think that's the main and most important part of what we do. We just make people think about, hey, maybe we need to be a little bit more grateful. Yeah. So,
Yeah, it sounds simple, but it's so powerful. Going on one of
yeah.
these trips, opening your eyes, and then you never take certain things for granted again because you remember what it was like for other people. How long is an average trip? Like, do you have different trip lengths?
So far we've done trips that are 5 nights. That's the length that we think is pretty good for people, especially if you're working. It's easy to take 5 days off of work and not like 2 weeks. So we normally arrive either on Monday or Tuesday, and then we depart by the weekend. So you have time to get ready for work or whatever you need to do the next week. So it's about 5 days. And during those 5 days, we have obviously the arrival day, and we do a little ceremony and kind of party, welcome party, dinner, and all that stuff. And then we distribute the activities throughout the days. So we do one day, which is full volunteer work, community service, all that kind of stuff. We do one day, which is just tourism, which it could be visiting places that you have already seen online, or people have told you about. And also we combine with places that are maybe more local, where you can see the culture and meet locals and stuff like that. We have one internal day where we reflect on everything that we are doing, and also we include the wellness workshops on that day. And then we have one kind of flex day, we want to call it. So we give people free time, we give them optional activities. Maybe they want to continue talking about what's happening with the volunteer work, or maybe they want to work a little bit more on their wellness workshops. So we give them that time also to, do some journaling if they want to, or go on their own and have free time. So yeah, that's basically it. And then the next day we depart. Those are 5 days.
I like it. I
Yeah.
think that's a good amount of time. You're right. Like 2 weeks is tough to take off,
Yeah.
but a week is good. And I often travel similar to that. Like I would travel on the weekends. And so you have the majority of the week. I like that you've structured it very carefully to include all of these different things, including the flex day, which I think is very important because it can be a lot to take in if you're like every day doing a lot of work.
hmm Yeah, and I mean, we also have blocks of free time for people during the days, because some people just need to, go to the room, or just stay by a pool, or go to the beach by themselves. Like I said, it's an experience that requires a lot of reflecting, and so some people just need more time. Others just want to hang out together, and that's fine too. But I think our schedule is not only, it's packed, but we also give people flexibility and free time for them to kind of adjust to the place and the experience however they want. So yeah, we've noticed that in the beginning people were asking for free time. So we're like, yeah, why not put it in the schedule already and just make it kind of official. Hey, there's free time. You can do whatever you want. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. I'm glad that you listen to feedback and make those kind of changes. It sounds like you're very in touch with the people and trying to give them the best experience possible. How many people normally go on a trip? Like, do you have a maximum and a minimum?
Yeah. We don't have a minimum, but normally the retreats sell out. I don't want to say pretty easy because we do work a lot to get the word out and stuff, but maximum of 20 people, and that's counting us, the staff. So we normally go with 3 people as staff, which would be the yoga teacher, the person that's doing the wellness workshops, and myself in logistics and all that kind of stuff. So about 17 participants, it's our top. No more than that because, like I said, if you're reflecting on things, a lot of personal stuff comes out, and we want to keep it very intimate so people feel comfortable sharing their experience and, maybe things that brought them to a retreat like this where they want to help others and stuff like that. So we try to keep it very small just because it's better. It feels more like a family, at the end of the trip than a big group in a bus. Yeah. So yeah, it's about, I want to say maximum of 20 people. Yeah, it's average of 15, 17 people normally on the trips.
That's a good size. I feel like that's a nice amount where you can get to know everyone without having it
Mm-hmm.
be too many people, too overwhelming also for you to
Yeah.
organize all of those people.
Yeah, I think more than 20 I don't do because it's just myself. Sometimes the yoga teacher is also the person doing the wellness workshops, so it's perfect. We have a chef that comes with us everywhere. So, yeah, I have to be able to manage everybody, and we want to give the best service we can possibly give. So, everybody wants to do something different, and everybody wants, you know, something different. So, we try to be as open as possible to give people the best experience they can have in those 4 days.
Mm. And
Yeah.
has the feedback been good? You've run these trips for about 3 years now.
Yeah.
What do people say after? How do they change after one of these trips?
Yeah, it's really interesting because I kind of get to know people before they get to the trip because, when you sign up, I'm already in constant communication with you. So I kind of get the feeling of the personalities that are going to come to the retreat. And then we can work around that to make the retreat kind of like we don't really necessarily cater to everybody, but every retreat has a personality. So when people get there, they already feel like, oh, you guys know us. So if right away, right after that, it feels like a family. And then we try to include the volunteer work activity on the first day, the very first day. You arrive, you sleep, and then the next morning we go do the volunteer work because that's what sets the tone for the rest of the retreat. And the feedback with that has been amazing. People, they talk about how they came with certain expectations, and then as soon as they walked into the volunteer work site, all those expectations went away, and they're like, "Yep, I'm here to help. I have a better life than this. Why not give it all?" And it's interesting because people after that activity that night everybody is absolutely exhausted. Even if we just went there for 4 hours or 5 hours, everyone is so exhausted because they're just giving the entire day. So the feedback has been very positive, thankfully, up to now, and hopefully will continue to be that way. I think the team that I gather to put these retreats together and to do all the work, we work really hard and we work from our heart, and I think that's what matters. And I think people can see that you were just, we're trying to give them the best experience they can have. And I think people can tell when you're being honest,
Yes.
and people can, they appreciate that kind of stuff. So it's been good. So far, so good. Yeah.
Yeah, people love authenticity and like you said, they can tell when it's from the heart, when it's genuine, when it's not forced or, trying to market or sell or something like that. So, yeah, I think the vibe that you put off definitely attracts a certain type of people who want that type of experience and who are looking for that guidance. I love the name that you chose for your company also, Soul Trips. That is such a cool name and it's so perfect. How did you choose
Yeah, I
it?
think it was a long, like, I'm assuming like every entrepreneur goes through that process of, oh my gosh, what am I going to call this? We knew we wanted to have the word trips or journeys or something like that in it, but we wanted to combine that word with something that meant that you were going to, look at your soul, or you were going to look inside of you and, work on yourself to then help others. So that's how this happened. Yeah, it was a long process, but I'm happy with it. And but I always say we, because I used to have a partner in the business, a good friend, but we're not longer together. We're still the best friends ever, but she's pursuing her psychology master's. So maybe we'll work together in the future. She'll come and do the workshops, and then I'll do the trip part. But yeah, so that's how we ended up with this name.
I
I think
love
it
it.
it the parentheses. I think it's like, it's like we're going in a group, we're going together, and yeah, it's just, yeah.
It's cute. I gotta include a picture
Yeah, I
so
like
everybody
it.
can see your hat also because it's just I think it's a great name. I love it when names just like fully encapsulate what the brand is about.
Yeah,
And yeah,
thank
it
you.
makes me want to take a soul trip.
Come on. Well, not right now, but soon. Soon.
Yeah, we're in the middle of COVID. Nobody's taking a
I
trip.
know. No, we're not either. We're not either, but soon, soon. I'm working for next year's trips. So it's been in a way, hasn't been that bad that, COVID came, because then it has given me the time to focus on other things and improve many things. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing about this whole coronavirus situation. It kind of gave everybody a little bit of time to think and to plan and to do stuff. So as a tour guide, like your business must have been very impacted. Like you probably can't hold any tours. Did you have to cancel?
Yeah, we had a retreat happening in Tulum, Mexico in March, just that week when the Canadian government started saying you can't take trips outside the country, and they closed the borders and stuff. So I canceled that, and I actually rescheduled it for November, but the November one is going to be rescheduled as well for March next year. So we won't do anything trip related or travel related until March next year. However, on the website, we're going to have all the trips that we're going to do next year, so people can already sign up. And even if they are not sure if they want to come to the trip, because right now everything is very up in the air for everybody. But we have like a sign up list, so people can sign up and get information about the trip and updates and things like that. They don't have to pay anything to be on this list. It's just like an interest list. So I'll be putting a couple more destinations in the next weeks on the website, so people can visit. And yeah, but yeah, we're planning for sure this Tulum, Mexico. happening in March if everything goes well until then. So
Awesome. Well, I'm keeping my fingers crossed that travel will open up and people will be able to go around soon because it has been difficult, like being stuck in a place. But again, I can't complain. A lot of people have it so much worse.
that's true.
But I'll put the link to your website so people can see those trips because I think it's super interesting. I've actually never heard, I've seen a lot of different wellness retreats and this type of thing, but I've never seen anybody doing it the way you're doing it, where you combine the local experience and the volunteering and the self reflection and the whole like family community aspect of it all. I think it's very unique.
It is. I think it is very unique too, and I think that's one of the reasons why it's been difficult for us to, just get the word out and make people kind of understand what it is because we have to educate people.
Hmm.
And, to understand that not every wellness retreat has to be a yoga retreat. And you don't have to be an expert in yoga to come with us. Some people just come because they want to do the volunteer work and they join the yoga because they feel like it's good exercise in the morning. So that works too. Like it's really nice because we feel like it's a platform that brings together people from all different backgrounds. So the lovers of yoga come because of yoga and then they love the volunteer work. Or the ones that love the volunteer work, they come and then they get, the yoga and they get excited about that. And so we get people from every background and that's nice. We like that. So
Yeah, it is nice to have a mix of people from
yeah,
different backgrounds, different
yeah.
jobs. It must be very cool for the people who attend to make a lot of different friends. I bet you always leave these experiences with like a bunch of new friends.
Yeah. Yeah, and everybody keeps in touch and we have Facebook groups just, specifically
Oh,
privately for those people because they want to, after they took all the pictures, then they want to share the pictures and they want to, talk about the inside jokes of the retreat and things like that. So, and it becomes like not in a bad way, but it becomes like a support environment where if people are struggling with things, I've seen it a lot now that we're in this time where people are stuck at home and things like that. Those groups are kind of reviving a little bit, and people are like, "Hey, how are you guys doing? How is it in your country?" Because we get people from different countries, right? So, or how is it in your community? And they keep in touch through Facebook and other platforms. And it's really interesting to see how they continue to be in touch and be aware of each other and, kind of taking care of each other even if they're far away.
Hey there, we hope you enjoyed listening to the Dear Guava Bean podcast. If you'd like to hear the second half of this episode, log in to the Freelancer Toolbox or go to guavabean.com to start your free trial now. As always, our goal is to empower you with the information, inspiration, and direction you need to achieve financial freedom through online work. Thanks for listening and supporting the podcast. See you in the next episode.